Am I the asshole for refusing to go to a party that was planned for me? Like most women, I had spent years fantasizing about my wedding day. So when my fiance asked me to marry him last year, I was over the moon. I spent hundreds of hours planning and arranging our perfect day.
Aww.
Little did I know that my fiance and his best man had arranged a prank. So when it came down to anyone objecting the wedding, the best man stood up and says he objected. Anyone who knows anything about weddings knows that regardless if it was a joke or not, the wedding cannot go forward if objected. So despite the best man and my fiance saying that it was a prank, we could not get married yesterday as intended. I was devastated, as all that money was now out the window and non-refundable.
Oh, no.
My soon-to-be sister-in-law had arranged an after-party at her place for us. Instead of me going, I walked down the aisle to the door by myself and took off from complete embarrassment and...
Am I the asshole for sending my stepbrother the bill to pay half of my engagement dinner expenses after he turned it into a baby gender reveal? Me and my stepbrother Ethan met when we were very young. He grew up being very competitive towards me and acted like we were in a race. For example, he got married on my mom's death anniversary. Years later, he seemed to be mature and respectful. He wants me to be an aunt for his future kid as he and his wife are expecting. Days ago was my engagement dinner and it was held in a prestigious restaurant that cost me and fiance Morgan money. Ethan and his wife showed up unexpectedly and they congratulated us. Ethan finished his drink and then announced the gender of his baby. He said, "We just found out it's a boy, everyone."
Story time about this girl who faked being Latina. So there was this girl who went to my school. Let's call her Sarah. Sarah is the queen of lies. In every subject we talk about, Sarah always, and I mean always, comes up with a lie that has to do with her life. Here's an example. What if we're talking about Tom Holland? She'd just come in and say, "Oh yeah, Tom Holland is my dad's friend. I met him once." You know, these types of lies. Another one is when she told everyone she's Latina. It was lunchtime in school, and we were talking about where we went for the summer. Sarah tells us that she went to Spain, and she started telling us on what she did there, and says that she's 50% Latina. She also said that she lived in Spain for 6 years, and if there is any person who lived in Spain for 6 years, they must know how to speak Spanish. And then my friend Kayla asked her, what does good morning mean in Spanish? We all know it's buenos dias. And my friend Kayla asked Sarah, what does good morning mean in Spanish? And then Sarah looks at us, looks back at her food, and said, I don't know, I'm still taking Spanish lessons. And we just look at her, that she doesn't even know what good morning means in Spanish. If she had lived in Spain for 6 years, she would have known what it meant. I don't know how, but that incident has spread around the entire school. Every person that walks past Sarah just says, Buenos dias, basically teasing her about not knowing what good morning means in Spanish. And then Sarah didn't show up to school for 3 days after that. And oh boy, we haven't even gotten to the crazy part. The 3 days pass, and Sarah comes back to school. As soon as she walks into the class, everyone's eyes was on her. She came up, sat in her seat, and this lady showed up to school.
Storytime of how I found out that I was pregnant with my stepbrother's baby. So basically I was 16 at the time and my mom didn't let me date. So I had to keep dating this guy a secret from my mom. And every weekend this guy would come over and she was dating him, but she didn't think that we were ready to meet his kids yet. Okay, so to be able to hang out with my boyfriend, me and him both told our parents that we were going to a friend's house. And my best friend's mom does not care what she does, so me and him would both always go there. So about a year into dating this kid, me and him were both tired of keeping it a secret from our parents. And legit, coincidentally, the same exact night that I was going to tell my mom about my boyfriend is the same exact night her boyfriend was going to bring his kids over so we could meet them. So I was going to wait till after we met them so she was in a better mood. And when my mom's boyfriend got there, so did my boyfriend. Me and him literally don't know how we didn't catch on. So we both decided not to tell our parents yet. And then me and my boyfriend decided that we were just going to take advantage of it. Because my mom's boyfriend was going to be moving in, so that means I can live with my boyfriend. I'm running out of time, like for part 2.
I told my 36 female husband, 37 male, that we should get a divorce so he can marry his late wife's tombstone. I married my husband 10 years ago. Prior to our relationship, he had been married for 2 years to L, 22 female. Sadly, she passed away because because of an ongoing health issue. I met my husband 5 years after her passing. At the beginning of our relationship, I had some issues with his romantic history. To put it bluntly, I was having trouble accepting my husband's past and that he did not stop loving his late wife, but was forced to do so. I went to therapy for a year to treat that, and I managed to overcome this issue. I now like to say that Elle and I would have been best friends. The issue, after 10 years of marriage, we have been having a lot of arguments, derived from bad communication. We just seem to blow everything out of proportion. About 3 months ago, every time we have an argument, he takes the car and goes away for hours. When I asked where he went, he told me,
Am I the asshole for marrying my sister's baby daddy? I, 36-year-old female, and my sister, 29 female, got pregnant when she was 18 years old. I am infertile and knew I couldn't have kids, so when my sister said she was giving her baby up for adoption, I decided to be her mom. My sister went no contact 5 months after giving birth. For a bit of background, my sister got pregnant by a one-night stand, and she apparently didn't remember or know the father at the time of birth, but when my daughter V was born, a man T, 35, messaged me on social media claiming to be the father of my child. My sister had run into him at a club and drunkenly confessed to the pregnancy. We met up, he bonded with his daughter, and well, that man is now my husband of 7 years. Coming back to my sister, she called me yesterday. Although I was surprised at her call, I picked up. We made some small talk, and then she said she had just gotten married a year back and both of them wanted children but couldn't because her husband was infertile but really wanted kids. I asked her if she wanted to adopt, and she said no, she just wanted her baby back. I was speechless for a few moments before replying that if she wants to meet my child as an aunt, she is welcome to, and we can both sit V down and
Am I the asshole for telling my husband that since he did not help funding my mother's health care, I will do with the inheritance what I want? My brother and I just got the estate in order, and each of us is going to get a somewhat considerable figure since my mom had some properties. This morning, my husband told me he wants to sell my part of the inheritance so we can make some non-vital house repairs and possibly go on vacation. I laughed more out of anger than anything else and told him that he had no right to suggest how to make use of the inheritance that my mother left when he refused to even pay half of her medical bills. He called me an asshole and went to work. His sister called me and said I was irrational and said that since I was living off his money, I have no right to demand money from him. And that the inheritance gives me the opportunity to return some money.
Would I be the asshole if I got my younger sister's college scholarship revoked? I am 21 and have been an avid writer my entire life. I have written 3 full-length novels that I'm almost perpetually reworking and a book of short stories all set within the same universe. I've been working on this universe and the characters within it since I was 13, and it is all very personal to me. This week, I found out that my younger sister, who was 17, won a massive scholarship by submitting one of my short stories. I would have been upset regardless of which story she'd taken, but she happened to pick one based around my experience feeling othered because of my autism. My sister is not autistic and has actually bullied me in the past for my autistic traits, and so the fact that this was the story she picked to steal from me almost feels like an attack. In addition to submitting the story, she also had to write about what inspired her to write the piece, and even thinking about what she must have made up makes my blood boil. My parents are currently struggling for money, and this scholarship would pay for almost her entire first year. Both my parents know what my little sister did, and they have both asked me to just let it slide because my sister having the scholarship is helping out our family a lot. Am I the asshole for refusing to pay my half of our canceled wedding? My ex-fiancé and I come from very different cultural backgrounds. Our families live on entirely different continents. I explicitly told him before we even got engaged that I always wanted a small, low-key wedding. I know that his culture had huge, lavish weddings, and he told me that this is what he wants. So when we got engaged, we had a long conversation which resulted in the compromise that we would have a big wedding in his home country, but drop some of the other aspects of his culture that I wasn't so comfortable with, or did not mesh well with my own culture. This was not a huge amount of customs we were dropping. In fact, we arranged to drop 1 and alter 2 so that they streamlined better with my own culture. We were both as happy as possible with this outcome. We began making bookings, reservations, and paying deposits for our wedding. This was all out of his bank account. This is because we did not have citizenship in each other's countries, so it was far less complicated for everything to be paid from one account of the same country. The intention was that after we get married, it would be much easier to get citizenship, and once citizenship was approved, we would merge our finances, and at this point would not matter who had paid for the wedding, since all of our money would be together. Am I the asshole for making my brother leave after he brought his kids to my child-free wedding? My wife and I got married days ago. We decided the wedding will be child-free. We thought this was the best option considering several factors from budget to keeping the order, etc. Everyone got an invitation, but my biggest concern was how my brother Ramsey, 36, was going to react. Ramsey married young and has 4 kids that he takes everywhere he and his wife goes. They're always there at every family event. The kids are grade A hyperactive to say the least. I gave Ramsey the invitation in person, and he read it out loud in a sarcastic tone and then said, "Child free, huh?" I nodded, and he got somewhat mad, saying, "Are you serious? But my children have never been excluded from any big or small event, let alone their own uncle's wedding." I said sorry, but it's already been decided, and everyone had to follow the rules, not just him. He started off for a minute, and then to my surprise he said, "I totally get it, man. No children means no children. No worries." I was glad he didn't start an argument over it and seemed to accept the rule. The day of the wedding came, and Ramsey and his wife didn't show up until shortly before the ceremony began. My best man noticed that Ramsey had arrived and had all his kids with him. I was legit mad, and I went to... Am I the asshole for making...
So when I was a sophomore in high school, I had this teacher who would only let the students in her class use the restroom one time per semester. Well, one day I raised my hand and I was like, "Excuse me," I don't remember her name, "can I please use the restroom?" And she was like, "No, you can't, because you've already used the restroom in my class this semester." Well, excuse me, you can't dictate my bladder. So I'm like all frustrated, and I started secretly texting my mom because I wasn't allowed to use my phone in class. And I was like, "Mom, I'm sitting in class right now. My teacher won't let me use the restroom." And she was like, "I'll take care of it for you." And I was like, "Okay." So like 5 minutes goes by, and all of a sudden my teacher's phone starts ringing. And she walks up to it and answers it, and she's like, "Hello?" "Yeah. Okay, thank you." And then she walks up to me like so angry, and she like slams the pass on my desk, and she was like, "Since you have to go that bad." And I was like, "Yeah, I really do, thanks." And I got up and left. I didn't even have to go to the bathroom. It was just the principle of it. I just roamed the halls.